financial scams are just as an epic high, especially because romance scams are like the number one scams. Thank you so much for joining us today on Second Act TV. Today, I'm so happy to welcome a new guest to Second Act, serial technology entrepreneur and the founder of Genie, the first app of its kind to leverage artificial intelligence to help stop scammers from reaching us. Jason Wolf. Jason, thank you so much for joining me today, all the way from Tel Aviv, or close to Tel Aviv.
Thanks, Silke. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. This is such an important conversation today. Financial scams are just as an epic high, especially in the last 3 years. And our demographic is the key target, especially because romance scams are like the number one scam. So give us an overall view of what we're facing here.
Thanks so much for having me, Silke, because as you said, this is such a big problem and growing quickly. Of course, awareness is a key part of understanding the problem and avoiding it. So first of all, like you said, the demographics of adults in the US are the perfect target market, unfortunately. So congratulations from being the most desired demographic in the world for scams and fraud. And maybe just the reason for that is fairly simple, but not everybody knows this. Over 40-year-olds in the US have 80% of the net worth of one of the richest nations in history. And so it's not just because we have the money, it's also because we are also consistent. There's 100 million of us and growing. So it's a big demographic with a lot of money, and we're also nice. So we tend not to be able to say no to a lot of things that we're being asked of.
Jason, before we get into the romance scams, which, of course, is so prevalent for our audience here, there are other financial scams that are really important to be aware of. Can we talk about that first?
Yeah, no, that's actually a great thing to be aware of, the bigger problem. So the top three, following romance, we have government impersonations, which means that, now we just finished Medicare open season. So we get calls or requests or signups, and they're not real. They're impersonating the real thing. So you need to be careful when you're signing up for anything around health benefits, etc. Same thing, Social Security. So that one category, the government impersonation, you've got to be afraid of because it's a person with authority, and we tend to accept their authority as real, but there's a lot of impersonation there. The second one, which is also important to pay attention to, this is the lotteries or prizes or winning something. And you know the old adage says, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. And that's another huge category where you've won something, or you just have to pay the shipping fees and they'll send you this wonderful thing. These are things that you need to be aware of before we even talk about the big one that's really interesting for your audience, which is the romance scams.
Yeah, it really is interesting. What it sounds so real. Like I won't go into the details. I fell for a secret shopping scam. I got out of it. Luckily, it's actually kind of a funny story because I ended up scamming him. But those are very prevalent. So just if somebody's calling you, it sounds too good to be true. Always follow up, like Jason said. So let's talk about the romance scams. What have you learned there? What can you tell our audience to help protect themselves and still enjoy being online and finding love after 50 online?
So it's a great question. And romance scam were in 2021, they were close to $1 billion the way you actually understand that you're in a dangerous position is basically when people are either moving too fast, they're moving off the dating app, and they're saying, let's now send me information on text. I don't want to stay on this dating app for any type of reasons. When someone sends you a picture of them, I would go out and Google that picture, see that there's real profiles, that there's other information of these people. Sometimes these are stock photos that people are using.
Let me ask, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
mean to interrupt you, but this is
No,
such
no,
an
that's
important
fine.
point that I don't understand. Because I've heard this from other experts that say, well, just like Google the picture or do a reverse search or something. I would have no idea how to do that. How do you do that?
So that's a great question. It's as simple. We all do search. So we go and we type something in. We can search names and
Mm-hmm.
look at the images that come up for those names. We can take literally a picture and post it into the search bar and see if there's matching images like that. And it's really important that we're doing two things. We're actively looking at the people that we're communicating with,
Mm-hmm.
and we're also refraining from taking actions ourselves. So there's no need to overly share your personal information before you're secure in the relationship. It's like an offline relationship. We want to get to know each other slowly and gradually. Definitely when it comes to someone who's asking you for help,
Mm-hmm.
financially, or it might be, tell me something more personal about your bank accounts or your, I don't know, your pension funds.
Mm-hmm.
It's things that they might raise alarm bells, but in the heat of the moment, in the story, we get caught up, and sometimes we just believe the people.
Well, see, that's what's so unbelievable to me. It's we've done some stuff on catfishing, and the people that get caught up in this, they're not stupid. There's intelligent, educated, professional people that are sending, hundreds of thousands of dollars to these scammers. And so I think that because we're older, or a lot of us are widowed or divorced, and they really prey on that loneliness. Is that what happens?
It's I would not judge, because it's so hard to tell the difference, and the stories seem so real, and the scams happen to other people, they don't happen to us, but it happens to us all the time. Actually, more than half of Americans get attacked, and the overall magnitude is just so immense. And they will come with really, you spoke about catfishing is the most predominant way for romance scams, because they understand that someone's gone through life events. They do background research. It's like a business to these scammers. They understand where you are, if you've, because if you've been a widow, it will be public records. They will scan and find these people and know that a certain amount of time has gone by. They will find pictures and other information about your spouse. So there's a lot of information that psychologically is going to seem like a coincidence to you. It will say, wow, I met this wonderful person, and by coincidence, he also works in the same profession that my late husband or my late wife worked in. And these things tend to kind of put down our guards and bring us in. And, it won't be immediately apparent, but over time, suddenly there will be something that looks completely normal, that suddenly they need a little bit of money to come and visit us, or that their child is in trouble, and it'll become part of the story. And then you will just feel, okay, I'm helping out this person that I'm slowly falling for, and you won't really feel that it's a scam until it's way too late.
Yeah. So I guess, what the biggest tip is, just if you do fall into that, you're getting caught up hoping that this is real. I would say the number one sign, red flag, is if you've actually never talked to them on person or in video, or like what can we do to qualify that, if you will?
Often they will, you won't be able to call them. You will call them, you'll get a voicemail, and they'll call you back. You need to have, like we're having this thing on Zoom, it doesn't guarantee authenticity, but at least you're talking to the person real time. Ask them for family photos, for vacation photos with time. Just, it doesn't have to be artificial. It could be natural, like you want to have a real relationship. Not every time you call, they'll call you back the next day. And again, sometimes the excuses they use, you will seem that they're logical, like I'm away at war, or I'm out on an oil rig, or whatever they are, and it's going to be very hard to know. But if it's those cases, make sure that you've got enough time, because they're not going to be out there for months and years. So you have to play it by what the situation is, and not just avoid contact at all, because that's not going to help.
Yeah. Well, and that's the sad part about this, is that the internet, the all this online technology, the phone technology, even for businesses, and robocall. I mean, it makes certain things easier, more efficient, but it's opened up so much opportunity for scamming that you really can't get away from it. So no, I don't want to encourage anybody not to go online or participate in this. But like you said, understand this world, because it's not that hard to spot if you're aware of it, correct?
Absolutely. That's it. If things move too quickly, it's like regular dating. If they move too quickly, if they move off to the channel and they're not direct with you, and if they ask you for something, those are kind of very clear telltale signs. Because if they're not asking you for something, if they're just interested in you, which they often will be, but then what they ask will come. If there's no quick asks and you're communicating naturally and ad hoc, suddenly there's a call and it's a real call. And if you're not moving too quickly with the relationship, then you're going to be safe for 99% of the cases. And, that's not to push Genie, but having tools that are there and have seen thousands of cases, and they can let you know that this one is it follows a script that's not a healthy script, because these things have to follow a certain script. So that's why artificial intelligence comes to help us in identifying these scam scripts.
So Jason, I do want to know more about Genie, or how it actually protects us. How can it identify a scammer?
That's a great question. Because these scammers have to follow kind of a regular script, that's kind of a storyline that makes us emotionally involved. It's something that we as individuals, it's very hard for us to know that we're being played, that we're following a storyline, a script. But artificial intelligence, which is basically a computer that listens and can communicate with the other party, can say, oh, I've seen this story before. Ruth and Betty and all these women have had the same story happen to them. So for Genie, for the computer, this is very easy to say, oh, this is the same thing, therefore you need to be careful, even though it's the first time you've heard it. Genie, have heard this before. So that's how Genie operates. It basically listens in to the person communicating with us, and then it can say, this is really safe, don't worry about it, or this is totally a scam and it won't let me do it, or it's somewhere in the middle, and then it'll tell me, listen, you got to be careful, I'm not 100% sure, but you can now decide based on the information I'm giving you, the Genie gives you. So Genie's with you there, and it can actually communicate with the other party, with the person on the other side of the phone in this case, or the text or the email. And before it passes on to you, it makes sure that it's a safe communication.
Wow. Like I said, totally over my head, but the value there is just it's incredible. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. Is there anything else you want to say before we close out on this topic? Is something I didn't ask?
Well, I just love talking to you, and I'm sure your audience is lucky to have you to kind of guide them through these things. And like you said, technology is not always there, to help us. Sometimes people are using it in bad ways. But Genie and what we're trying to do with artificial intelligence is definitely a step up, because in the next 20, 30, 40 years, technology adoption is going to take us more and more online to do dating, to do a lot of things that we're going to do in life are moving online. And we need kind of this artificial intelligence, this smart technology to be there and make sure that we're not making a misstep.
Oh. Well, Jason, again, thank you. And I look forward to our next conversation on Second Act TV. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too, and we'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.